now.
And a good Friday morning, everyone. Thank you for choosing Good Day Gulf Coast. It is July the 19th. I'm Eric Reynolds.
And I'm Ashley Mitchell. Sarah Wall has the morning off. It's great to be with you all this morning, but first let's check in with meteorologist Nicholas Herboso for a look at our weather. Nick, lots going on in the area, deep sea fishing rodeo. Pretty soggy start to our day though.
Yes, it has been a pretty soggy start out there. In some places, though, there are some places that are dry. But
Meanwhile, calls are growing this morning for President Joe Biden to give up his re-election bid. According to some national polls, President Biden is trailing at a disadvantage in battleground states. And in a new development, some senior-ranking White House and Biden campaign officials now privately believe President Biden must abandon his re-election campaign soon. That's all according to more than 24 sources with knowledge on this matter.
I'm confident that we will nominate the best candidate to take on and defeat Donald Trump. For me, that's Joe Biden. For some of my colleagues, they have different views.
But President Biden's campaign insists he's staying in the race and has a chance to win. The president, meantime, remains off the campaign trail due to being diagnosed with COVID. Meanwhile, the state of Alabama has executed a twice-convicted murderer. According to corrections officials, 64-year-old Keith Gavin was executed by lethal injection at the Holman Correctional Facility in Atmore. Gavin was first convicted of murder in Illinois back in 1982. Following his release in 1998 on parole, Gavin shot and killed William Clayton outside a bank during a robbery attempt in Cherokee, Alabama. Following that trial, Gavin was convicted of capital murder and then sentenced to death row. And new developments coming out in court about the mass shooting in Stockton back in May, where nearly 19 people were shot, 3 were killed. An Anaya's Law bond hearing and preliminary hearing held for Robert Brown Jr. He's accused of shooting and killing 2 people and wounding a 3rd. Investigators testified in court that several people saw Brown fire those first shots that prosecutors say killed both Chiquita Ewing and Michael Anderson Jr. Prosecutors say a fight between Brown and Anderson several days before sparked the violence at the May Day event. After his arrest, police said Brown admitted to taking a gun with him to the party, an AR-15 with the stock removed. But investigators testified that the only shell casings recovered at the scene were not consistent with an AR-15. That's something defense attorney Chase Dearman brought into question.
All the forensic evidence, there is no 5.56 millimeter or .223 cartridges found, which falls in line with what Robert Brown Jr. told the investigators. In addition to that, every single one of those witnesses are part of the Sawmill murder gang. They're all in a gang together, every single one of them. So all the witness testimony that they were describing in court came literally from a gang.
I believe there was some conflict between these groups, there's no question about that, but that was the motive behind the shooting. So his defense about it's this other group is also leads to the motive for him being involved in the shooting.
Cases against all 3 have now been bound over to the grand jury, and all are being held without bond until trial. And with that, get ready to shop until you drop this weekend. Alabama's 19th annual back-to-school sales tax weekend is already underway. Fox 10's Anaya Spraggs is joining us live in studio with all the details you need to know. Anaya, good morning. How are local retailers preparing for this influx this weekend? And meanwhile, the Justice Department says it needs more time to finalize the plea deal it made with plane maker Boeing earlier this month. The DOJ says it's been making, quote, substantial progress in finalizing that agreement, but they say officials need more time to work through some remaining details before final terms are filed with a federal court in Texas. Prosecutors say that could happen next Wednesday at the earliest. Earlier this month, Boeing agreed to plead guilty to 1 charge of conspiracy to defraud the United States for its role in 2 fatal 737 MAX crashes. The company would pay $487 million in fines, a fraction of what the families of the crash victims want. Now, the plane maker will also have to operate under the oversight of an independent monitor chosen by the government. The families suing Boeing oppose that deal.
Welcome back to Fox 10 News Good Day Gulf Coast.
Good morning. The time is approaching 6:30 on your Friday morning. Not the brightest morning out there, but the sun is rising slowly but surely. We've seen several storms pop up through our area this morning, but it's good to be with you all this morning. I'm Ashley Mitchell. Sarah Wall has the morning off.
And I'm Eric Reynolds. Good Friday morning, everyone. A beautiful shot down at the Dauphin Island area, our new Dauphin Island Sea Lab cam. You can see how things are looking that some of the fishermen may be dealing with this morning. We're going to talk about that as we check in now with Nicholas Herbosa, our Fox 10 News meteorologist, who has a better idea of what everybody's experiencing right now.
Yeah, a lot of rain.
The Alabama Department of Environmental Management and the owners of a Washington County landfill are agreeing to settle allegations of environmental violations. After a 45-day public comment period, Turkey Trot LLC will pay a little more than $14,000 to resolve allegations of violations at the facility, which has a Citronelle address, but it's actually located over the line in Washington County. ADEM regulars found during inspections back in October of 2022 and August of last year that workers had failed to apply dirt or an alternative cover over to prevent fires, odors, or litter. Now, EcoSouth, which bought the landfill in September of 2022, did not admit to those violations, but told ADEM that it had worked to correct issues, including additional training and some personnel changes. And it was a bittersweet time for many in the Port City. It was the final performance that will take place in the Mobile Civic Center. Back in March, the City Council unveiled what's next. That's a $300 million state-of-the-art facility. 60 years later, and thousands of performances, operas, ballets, symphonies, concerts, and much more. Last night was the final closing of that curtain at the Civic Center, and performers certainly went out with a bang. A nostalgic moment for some who say they grew up within those very walls.
So the fact that I've been here all of my life, and a lot of things that I know that I grew up here, then, you know, yeah, they're doing away with it, but, you know, it's okay. It's okay. We'll be all right.
Well, my dream was to study tap, and so I was here with the adult tap class in Carol Graham's recitals for many years. So that was just a highlight.
I worked over here for years as a contractor, and I remember the mural from when I was a small child. It was just a real impressive thing in the auditorium lobby. But we've been to a lot of things in the theater that we've enjoyed.
A plan to demolish the Civic Center will be going before the Mobile City Council very soon. Well, Nick, they might have had to take a break in their construction today because there's lots of rain outside right now, but talk about the beach forecast. What's it looking like out there?
Yeah, so I have the radar pulled up behind us, and you can kind of see.
We are just 1 day away from one of the wildest events in downtown Mobile. I've been there. I can certainly attest to it. The Dauphin Street Vault is happening tomorrow. The sanctioned track and field event will have athletes soaring as the bar is raised higher and higher throughout the day and the evening. This event attracts more than 200 of the region's best vaulters along with fans. Now, the fun begins at 8 tomorrow morning and continues throughout the entire day with the elite vaulters at 7 tomorrow night.
A lot of high-flying action there for real.
I can never do that.
Well, Spanish Fort Police taking more action to protect officers' mental health.
And coming up in our next hour, we'll have the very latest in the effort to redraw some legislative maps in Mississippi. But first, let's check in with Nick. Welcome back in. The time is 6:47 on your Friday morning. Well, the Spanish Fort Police Department is launching its first ever mental wellness program for officers. It's no secret that the job of a police officer is physically, mentally, and emotionally demanding. Spanish Fort Police Chief John Barber says it's often challenging for officers to talk about the horrific things they encounter. Chief Barber says mental and physical health are equally important and synonymous. He says officers pass a psychological test when they first graduate the academy, but after that, they're rarely asked to have a mental checkup. But that's changing. Chief Barber says they're partnering with local therapist Ashley Cote to create a mental wellness program.
You can go in there and talk about football, you can talk about politics. I don't care. If you don't need it, that's a great thing. But what I do believe in my department and in a lot of departments, you have people that probably need to see somebody
We spoke to some Spanish Fort citizens who told us it gives them a sense of peace to know the people enforcing the law are being taken care of themselves.
Fox 10's Operation Backpack is sponsored by White Spunner Construction, Tobias & Comer Law LLC, and Whataburger.
Well, school is already on the horizon for us, and Fox 10 News is committed to making sure students have all the supplies they need. That's why we are teaming up with the Department of Human Resources in both Mobile and Baldwin counties and other community partners like Tobias & Comer Law Firm to help make that happen. It's called Operation Backpack, and we are collecting things for students like backpacks, notebooks, 3-ring binders, pens, and paper. Now you can drop off donations at Tobias & Comer Law Firm, that's on Dauphin Street, or right here at the Fox 10 studios on Satchel Paige Drive. We also have a list of other locations on our website at fox10tv.com. Operation Backpack runs through the end of this month.